Hello, subscribers and future subscribers. So I thought today would be a fun video because the last two lives I've done shipping orders. And one of the things that I like to do sometimes is wrap orders that are going to be gifts. Now, I haven't really found out a way to do this very effectively on eBay. So I would love your comments, your chat remarks, because it's kind of a service I've always wanted to provide, but haven't really had a way to do it. So since it's a Friday, we're just going to have fun. And actually, all of these items are going to be for one of my pool pals for the summer. So I've just got some different things, different sizes, and I'm actually going to put them all in this bag. However, I think that every one of the items I'm going to show you how I wrap these, I think they would ship very well. And I have quite a few to go through. So keep watching. Now, let me know if you have any color preferences, color picks, because basically what I do is I use whatever I have. This is just a scrapbook piece of paper, and I have a few other colors, but this one seemed to work the best with the other colors that I've got going on. But that could always change, because keep watching. What I'm doing now, what you're not seeing, is I'm actually going to grab my secret stash of gift bags, and this is only part of them. And so keep watching, because you're going to get to see it all. Eventually, I may even be brave enough to do this with my ribbons, because I have a lot of assorted ribbons. And sometimes it doesn't even take a whole lot to wrap these things. Okay, so can you see all of the different bags that I have? These are all new. They've not been used in the past. Actually, now that I see this yellow, that's kind of a pretty color. Let's just pull that one out. But I think I would only need one. So let me go ahead and just take one out. I forget that I even have these. And most of these, you would be so proud, I basically got for free. Now, I may have had to pay pocket change. There might have been sales tax. But for the most part, I was able to get everything I'm showing you here for free, because one of my favorite stores gives away a gift bag each month. And as long as I go in, I don't have to make any other purchase. They'll give me a gift bag. And you can see they have really nice gift bags. It's up to a limit of $3, but they have a lot that you can find for $3. And it's an ever-changing selection, which I love. They provide the best customer service in the world. If you really want to hear that whole story, I could tell you, because I had a day and night opposite experience at one store, and then I had a perfect experience at this store. And anyway, but this is about wrapping. So this would be these would just be other options if I didn't want to try to fit it all in here, and it might not. It may not fit. That's the one thing about gift wrap. Once you get started, how things are turning out, not how you originally imagined they would. And then these sort of bags can be fun, but I probably wouldn't put a lot of extra embellishment with a bag like this. And that is going to be one of my pointers. If you are giving a gift bag or a gift basket, anytime you're able to wrap each item or decorate each item, it really gives a much better presentation than just putting tissue in and putting the items in. Because that way, I think the gift recipient knows that you took the time to really think through what you would want them to have, and it does make a little bit more sense. If this is just kind of guarding off some junk to the side. So if this gets mispositioned, I am sorry. I'll try to just adjust a little, but it may throw another side off. So let's hope that stays. Okay, we've definitely got some viewers. So don't be shy. After you're subscribed for 1 minute, you can participate in the chat and chat all the comments and questions you want. I was listening to an eBay for Business podcast, and I forget exactly when, but the people who've done this for like 20 years, they were sort of reminiscing about a time where eBay did allow you to charge for a gift wrap option. I'm grabbing some wrapping paper. So every time you see me move away, I'm still in the room. It's just I have to get things that won't fit on this table very easily because I needed to kind of give you a selection. This is some Hallmark gift wrap that I paid $0.00 for because I used some CVS customer loyalty coupons and digital coupons that they sent me one time. And I was able to get some Hallmark gift wrap. This is some adhesive shelf paper. And I don't remember where I got it. I obviously paid something for it. But this has lasted me, I would say this is probably at least 3 or 4 years old. And I still have a lot left. So this can be a really fun one when I'm really trying to give a little bit more colorful brightness to one of the items. I can use it as a layover where I actually like cut a strip and then run it down the side of the piece, or I can actually do the reverse of a piece and make it double-sided. That is one thing I'm going to do. That's going to be one of my more ambitious plans. And I can also show you how to tie a perfect bow. Does anybody know how to tie a perfect bow? Because I did make a video tutorial. It just didn't get a lot of views, so I'm not sure how many people actually saw it. But assuming we've got enough people interested, I can put, I can actually do that on at least one of these items. I can show you how to tie the perfect bow. All you need is a little bit of ribbon. And we're going to keep moving along. So I do have more fun ribbon that I'm just kind of going through the assortment here. That's kind of fun. These I have plenty of because these I also was able to get from CVS at a $0 cost. However, this is just on a personal preference. This is my least favorite to work with. I would much rather have a cloth ribbon than I would a plastic ribbon. But everybody's got their own preference. And since it was free, I'm really not complaining about it. This can also be a really good time to use up any ribbon scraps. And so there's going to be 3 different kinds of tape that I would recommend. The first is just going to be your basic plastic tape, clear tape. Now, they also make what's called invisible, and that's more of a frosted finish. If you pay attention, especially around the holidays, you will see that the invisible tape is more available. Let me see if I have an example for you. I'm still in the room. I haven't left you guys. So if you don't see me over there, it's just because I'm trying to grab something on the opposite side of the room just to be able to show it to you. So one thing I also wanted to ask is, assuming that you were paying for gift wrap like as an additional feature, what do you think a fair price is? I know with Amazon, they do offer gift wrap, and I did have this. Okay, so I once upon a time paid to get an Amazon item gift wrap just to see what it looked like, and it came in this cute little pouch. I still saved it, but like it was just very generic, and I just didn't, I mean, it's a nice pouch, but it's just so generic that I was like, okay, anybody could do a better job than that. So I think we will. Not to bash Amazon. They send out however many millions of items each day. So I'm sure that by itself is a challenge. However, if you pay for gift wrap, I think it should be nice. It should improve the overall experience of the person who receives the item. I do have to stay hydrated because I'm going to be talking throughout. I don't want you to get bored. I want you to ask lots and lots of questions because I love seeing those questions come up on the screen. Okay. Now, sometimes you can also use what would be considered out-of-season materials or any season materials. Like this is more of a Christmas pattern, but sometimes when you're working with geometrics, you can make it work. I sometimes save the handles off of paper bags because sometimes these make really, really good just they make really good ties for different types of paper bags. So I do save some of these. I'll just have a lot of this off to the side so we don't get too distracted. And let me see if I can find one other location for tape. Now, the obvious one that I haven't brought up yet is double-sided tape. And yes, I will strongly suggest using double-sided tape sometimes. Double-sided tape is one of those things that it's wonderful when it works, and it's not so wonderful when it doesn't. And a lot of the papers that I'm using, a lot of the techniques that I teach, I'm actually using, I had to dig all the way to the back of the drawer for this, transparent tape. A lot of the techniques that I teach, double-sided isn't always going to hold very well. It can be a reinforcement, but for very heavy papers, I would use more of a foam tape or foam squares. And I have a whole can full of those that I can show you. So this is the heavy duty stuff. So once I make like something like this, 2 layers, the double-sided tape may not get the job done, in which case I'm going to switch over to foam tape, and it's going to turn out wonderful. Okay, so probably the easiest thing we can start with, and this is a hack that you can use on any kind of paper. Right now, this is a cardstock, so it's a heavy enough paper to bend and wrap with on its own. But if you have inexpensive holiday papers, Christmas papers, whatever kind of birthday papers, even any kind of just leftover, paper that you're not the biggest fan of, one thing to do is to find a pattern of adhesive paper that you do like, and then you can make the other side, the interior, and you have double-sided paper, and people really love it. Even if the pattern wasn't that wonderful to start, they really, really love it. The nice thing about this pattern is it's geometric, so I can basically guesstimate pretty well how much I'm going to have to cut. Just out of curiosity, did anybody ever see the video that I made where I took a paper bag and wrapped a necktie in it? Because I thought that one turned out fairly well. But I'm not sure that it got to the right audience. And that's one difficulty is, you can see me, but I really don't know exactly who's watching. So unless you make comments about how and where you came across this video, I don't get that much information. Let me see. I need to get my scissors, and I always keep a separate pair of scissors for papers, and I also keep a separate pair of scissors for ribbon. And at least on the ribbon, I am very, very diligent about not letting the not using the ribbon scissors for anything else, because they will cut a very precise measure, and I don't have to waste any ribbon. Now, I would consider myself more of a paper person. Do you think you're more of a paper person, or do you think you're more of a ribbon person? Or there's option number 3, which is, do you think you're more of a what's inside kind of person? Because some people really don't get very interested in how the gift is presented. They're much more interested in the gift itself, and I can understand that. So I would just love to see how that percentage breaks out. But there is a channel that I watch, and the channel is called David Christopher's, and he does holiday Christmas decorations basically year-round. And he apparently is a ribbon person. Since I am a paper person, and by the way, we don't live near one another, and I don't have any plans to set up a meeting with this guy. But if you put us in the same room, oh my gosh, you put my paper collection with his ribbon collection, that would be some extreme wrapping. So I'm always looking at the way that this would best position with the pattern on the opposite side. And I think it looks good if I run the dark on one side so that it's zigzagging across, not this way. And I could be wrong. So we're always going to see how it turns out. I show you the real result. None of this is staged. I do try to keep things prepared in advance. And let me know how you thought about yesterday's video, because really it took me about half the time to ship the same number of orders just because I was much better prepared. And I think seeing the audience and the comments really helped keep me on task. So this is really helpful for me. I do want to try to get basically a even alignment, but since it's only geometry on one side and one side is much more abstract, it's really not going to be that noticeable if I'm off by a bit. But ideally I won't be, so that I don't run out of paper or it doesn't look completely crooked. There are ways that I can reshore this up, but once the adhesive's down, I kind of have to just go with it. And so situations like this can arise where I'm going to have a little bit of an air bubble crease. I don't know there's an easy way out of this one, because I don't want to ruin either side. But sometimes if you can kind of just massage it in toward the edge, that works. Sometimes if you can pull back from the top, that'll work. But the funny thing is, I buy shelf paper not to use for shelves. I use it for gifts and other DIY projects. In theory, the interior of all the drawers in my home, all the all the shelves in my cabinets could just be the most gorgeously decorated. But in reality, I have so many more rolls just sitting there that I'm saving to wrap gifts around. And if I completely fool this one up, it's okay. We can start over with a new one. But I do want to show you, I want to use what I have. And I basically have estimated I have about a 3-year gift wrap supply if I don't add anything new to it. And every year there's always something, even with my oversupply, there's always something that seems to get added in. And I think, oh, but I'm really going to use all of that this year. And I usually have some scraps left over. So actually, just kind of being patient with that one. That one turned out really good because I got all the air bubble out. Okay, now we got a little air bubble here, and I just use my hands. This is not wallpaper. This is not a professional renovation remodel job. This is really just for presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and at the back, I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. And I can basically use these scissors to slide around it, but this is not paper. Let me grab just kind of more of a utility scissor. And as I'm grabbing the scissor, okay, well, it's not where I thought it would be, but I'm going to keep talking because I think I know exactly where it is. And I know you probably can't hear me, but that's okay too. I try not to edit these live, but if there's an extended silence, I probably will. But I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm actually able to do this because I'm expecting a courier delivery this afternoon. So I have to be available to sign for it. And I can see right outside my window. So as soon as the courier's here, I will be available. That should take about a minute or two. And then there's probably going to be a very quick wrap up because after that, it's my weekend and I am planning on getting some pool time in. So how many of you have actually been outside enjoying some of this hot weather at the pool? I generally am more of an indoor person, but you know, when I can get a little bit of sunshine, I really do like to give myself that in small measured doses. I try not to burn. Usually the first time I spend a long period out in the sun, I burn, and then after that, my skin just gets used to it. But I do recommend wearing sunscreen, at least for me. It has definitely helped a lot just in terms of not getting sunspots and keeping my skin more youthful and radiant, plus all of the other products that I'm sure you've seen I purchase. And here we go. So do you see this is a utility scissor, but it's really cutting along that clean edge of the cardstock. And things like that that aren't quite perfect aren't really going to make any difference. And by the way, you do have to be subscribed for 1 minute to make a comment. So just keep reminding me to remind you about that. So if it says you can't comment, it just means you have to have been subscribed for about a minute. And I'm sure there's a reason they have that feature. I personally haven't had any real serious issues with these lives. I enjoy them, but I'm sure there's a reason why they have that, you know, minute delay as a feature. You can make it longer, but I make it a minute. And just clean that up a little bit. Okay, so now we have double-sided paper. Look at what we started with. Look at what we have now. We have dramatically improved this. And I would recommend if somebody does something nice for you, or, you know, it's just your summer bestie, try to think of a way that you can thank them that doesn't make them feel completely awkward, but, you know, you give them a little extra love, give them a little extra recognition. Now, do you see how beautiful that is on the inside as it goes from dark to light and light to dark? I think that's going to make a wonderful wrap for this. Now, in order to wrap this, I would definitely want to tape the cap, make it down so there's no dust, but I think I'm going to have plenty of room left, and it's going to fit in just perfect. The only problem is I've done something like this once before, and it's been a while. So we're going to figure that part out together, but I do know how to do this. So why don't I put this off to this side, and then other things like this are much easier to do. Okay, so we're going to have a little audience poll. Do we want to do stripes or circles? Keep those two choices in mind, stripes or circles. Do we want to do stripes or circles? Keep those two choices in mind, stripes or circles. Because this is wrapping paper that I bought that I thought, you know, even for if I was ever able to find out a way to offer gift wrapping as a service, this is like so universal, generic, acceptable for everybody that this would work for a lot of different occasions. Maybe not the fanciest of occasions, but I do have fancy papers. But for like any kind of casual occasion, a birthday, a housewarming, just a just because gift, I think that this would be perfect for that. So since we have so many other dots, I'm leaning more toward the stripe. What do you guys think? Because I also want to make sure that I don't waste paper. So how do you feel? Oh, when you do geometrics, they are so easy to cut. And Hallmark paper, many times I have seen that it's double-sided. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's doubly thick, though. So just this is what I would say is a mid-weight, and it's easy for me to work with, but it's not a double thickness. So do we want to do stars or stripes? Kind of last call. Either way and both, what I'm going to do is notice how I'm kind of visually measuring up here. That's actually more than what I need, but I like to have a little additional that I can trim down as opposed to not enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go this full circle and this full circle, and that's where I'm going to make my cut. I don't know if you can see it. So if the package lands here with enough to cover one side, I'm actually going to cut right in between there. Now I could go for this, but I'm actually going to go right in between there. And I try to keep my cuts as level and even as I can, because that makes the next item that much easier, as long as I don't move it too much. So where do we say? Okay, so here's another thing I'll do, just for giggles. I happen to have a little blue marker. So I'm just going to put that right there, so I remember that these are the circles I'm supposed to cut through. And by the time it's wrapped and trimmed, I don't think anybody would notice it. And even if they did notice it, I think it'll look so good that it won't bother them at all. That is my courier. So hold on, I'm still here. I'm actually going to be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, so as promised, I did get a courier delivery. This is why I had to be here. One of these is cold, but it's inside an insulated cooler, and it will stay safe up to, I think they say like 12 hours at room temperature, but this isn't going to take 12 hours, and I will get it unpacked and safely stored. So here we go. We've got this. Now, one thing I am afraid, I wouldn't say afraid, but one thing I don't do during the summer months, even the late spring, I actually don't sell chocolate or anything that could melt online. And during the winter months, I have got to tell you something. People really love ordering chocolate online. I noticed that the first year that I did eBay. I was actually really surprised. I'm not even using my good scissors. I'm using my utility scissors. That's how much I don't want to waste your time. I'm just like, you know, this will be fast. This will be faster. Let me put these over here and I'll grab my paper scissors. These are really hair cutting scissors, but you can see I kind of marked them. I don't use them for hair cutting. I only use them for paper, and I keep them super, super sharp. Okay, so what does the audience think? It's looking like 50-50 so far. I think just because I like a little bit of a challenge, I want to play around with this stripe pattern a little bit. And I almost wonder if I can do like a diagonal stripe. And maybe that would be pretty cool. I know that's a little more wasteful, but I also know the size might work out for this. And who wouldn't love a diagonal stripe like that? Come on. Okay, so why don't we try that? This is new territory for me. First thing I'm going to do, this has wrinkles. If it could show, I'm just going to remove it. And again, with geometrics, super easy to do. I'm just going to cut along the blue line. Now this rainbow is interesting because some of the colors are true, you know, true bold colors. Like I would call this just a blue or just a red. But then some of the greens are off color. And I was noticing that and I thought, huh, I wonder how they picked that particular palette, because it is nice, but it's a much more modern type of a palette. Hallmark generally will go a little more traditional, is what I've noticed. And best guess is good. So if I'm going to diagonally do this, see that I think there is going to be quite a bit of waste, but it's got to at least make its way both ways around the package. Let me try it this way. Trial and experiment. And that doesn't really give me enough centering. So let's go back to this. And you might be wondering, what are these items? These actually are items that I have listed for sale on eBay, maybe even Mercari, and just didn't get a sale from it. So counting the circles, looks like there's about 6, a little bit more. So we'll call this one a little bit more, that one right there. Then we'll go 6 or 6. Okay. I like how they put those stars there. That made it easy for me to spot right away. Another thing that I can do if I really want to coordinate everything is I can use my leftover scrap paper, either for like an attachment card or as an overlay on another wrapped present. Okay, so we got Queen for the day. No, I am not making a gift bag for myself, but it would have to be much longer than a day if it was going to suit me. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get these colors lined up. Oh, I'm sure this drives somebody crazy who has to do this, like, not for fun, but for real. I think we did it. I've got a little bit more extra paper here, so let me see what I can do there. And I got to make sure that I'm covering each corner, though, and I'm sure you're seeing that. Okay. Let me see, because this is also rectangular. It's not a square box. It looks mostly like a square box, but it's not a square box. So why don't we call this pretty good? I mean, this is a very good line. We do get an entire side that is perfect. And so I'm going to just start going with it. Okay, so here's where we talked a little bit about double-sided tape. Now I have to use a little bit of my overlap to cover this corner. I wonder if that can be better positioned by bringing it up maybe a little bit. Think of all the time you will save having watched this video, because if you ever decide to do these types of patterns, especially around like Christmas, there might be like a candy cane stripe you want to do this with. Okay, that made it a lot more difficult. So we're going to go back to kind of where we had it, I think. So yeah, if you ever wanted to do aligned stripes, maybe this will speed up the process for everybody. And nope. Oh, it was going so good for us for just a second. I'm also not going to freak out about small tears because they can easily be taped. And sometimes they end up around corners anyway, so that is not a real big deal. Taped and overlapped. Okay, so that gets me corner coverage everywhere. Everywhere I'm going to need it. And I'm going to have a lot of excess on the edge. So in order to, number one, we definitely want to, since this is working, we are going to let it work. So this right here, and I know I'm overlapping this because I want to just conceal that. I'm actually going to put a piece of double-sided tape. I'm actually going to put a piece of double-sided tape. Yes, I said double-sided tape. And what that's going to let me do is secure this down. But then also when I bring this piece back over, see how the box just slightly shifted there? It's going to let me do this. So I just need to kind of tuck that under a bit. And I'm probably basically going to have to trim this. Doing this exact technique with this paper is a first. So you are getting a live, real life preview of something I know in my heart will work, but I haven't proven it just yet in real life. Okay, and there, normally I would be very crisp around these edges, but there I really wanted these room there. We've definitely got more room here. So we're going to focus on the corner that needs the most from us first. And there's probably a way to do this kind of as a flat fold, but this is going to have a lot of extra wrap. So let's do that. You know, one other thing you can do, this is a little bit of a cheat, but it's perfectly allowed, is if you come up short on one side and you just need a little paper, you can use your scrap and tape it underneath. So for example, I could take a little piece of orange and just tape it underneath this. And I wonder if this is because I cut that or something. I'm not sure. But I want to try to get it as neat looking as I can. So let's see what we can do here. Okay. I think it's going to turn out okay. I mean, through the magic of editing, anything can turn out okay. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So here's another secret is when I've got too much on my underside here, I don't want to completely get rid of all this, but I'll just do kind of a moon, little half moon there. And that's all I need. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Trying to decide on this corner situation because left unattended, it will go through a snag. So if I'm really careful, I think I can bend this back, put a piece of tape right on that corner edge, and then that way this will lay kind of where we want it. Okay. So usually the first side is the one you have to do the most engineering challenge to. And then every side after that, it's like, okay, yeah, I could do that again and again and again. But every package, every present, every person is unique. So I try to keep that in mind. And I really try to do that if I put additional decorations. They're called accoutrements, but basically additional decorations that in addition to like a bow, I can add on, you know, like a flower or an ornament or a jewel piece, something a little more extravagant just to finish everything off. And if you're into the more natural materials, that's perfectly fine. You can use like pine sprigs, things like that. That's what I would describe as an accoutrement. And usually when I do my holiday theme, it takes me a good half a year to find the accoutrements that I want. But this year, everybody's been announcing their holiday theme early, and I haven't officially done that yet, but I'm prepared to. It's not going to be on this video, but I am prepared to announce my holiday theme early. So if you want to guess in the comment section, you can go back and see how correct you are. And if you really get it wrong, you can always edit your comment. So I'm not going to hold anybody to that. But I think it's always nice to have a theme, not only for Christmas holidays and winter holidays, but really for any kind of celebration or party, because it just gives everybody, you know, kind of an idea of what to expect. Here, I'm going to just work a little bit of scissor magic, which is why I love my sharp scissors. And here I'm going to work a little bit more tape magic. I could also use, in fact, why don't I do that? Why don't I use a glue stick? Because it's okay to use glue. It's okay to use hot glue. It's okay to use school glue. And it's definitely okay to use glue sticks. The problem with glue sticks is they are the easiest to fall in between things. And I think that may have happened, but I also know exactly where a new package is. So as I'm rattling around over here, if I don't find one very, very soon, I'm just going to go start a new package, which I think is what I'm doing. So forgive me for stepping away from the mic. I just need to make sure I get this done. And actually, these look like they might have been stored a while ago, so I probably should use them. Once they're dried out, they're basically not very helpful to anyone. Now, when you do your wrapping, do you do it as like one big assembly, or do you kind of do it one at a time as you get things? I remember once upon a time there used to be like more family wrapping, you know, like do it as a group. And I kind of got away from that a long time before everybody else did. But I just did not want to get distracted by everybody else because I had my own idea or style in mind. So these, I think, are drying out. So let's see how well we do with those. Use what we have. That is our theme. And we're still always checking comments just to be sure. Okay. So here we need to just do oh, and something like this. If you have an orange marker that will match, which I'm sure I do, I can actually show you how to make that 100% perfect. And over here, this little white thing isn't going to upset anybody, but I don't want it to peel up. So I'll just put a little glue there, and that purple is going to dry clear. And so far I actually, did I tape it? I just put a little double. Okay. Well, I said we were allowed to use glue. Do you want to glue it? Let's glue it. This is not something I normally would do, but why not? I mean, I think in the end it's going to be a lot more finished and secure, and I really hate the idea of messing up such a beautiful geometric perfection. Okay, so here I see a little bit of black that has, I see a little black that needs a touch up. So what I would do is, normally I'd try to find a thinner black marker, but I just happen to have these wide ones, and I'm sure it'll work out just fine. So I'm just going to just do light, touch up, touch up, touch up, and then wipe so that it doesn't get onto a different color. And that just fills that in. And especially with black wrapping paper, it is so easy for these little crease marks to come up. You almost expect it. In fact, there's one black and silver paper that I bought once. I have regretted every day or every time I've tried to wrap with it, because one side is always going to be peeling and fading, and it's just not easy to work with. But so far, this I would say is easy to work with. You just sort of have to have a plan in mind. So looking at this, I feel like this is going to give us plenty of coverage. So why don't we just, hold on. I want to do enough, but not too much. But I think if I cut on these circles, we will have enough. Now, one time saver is, if I was going to do a whole bunch of these, once I had the general size, I could just cut out, 10, 20, 30 appropriate sized sheets, and then that would save me a lot of time on this part, because they'd all basically be sized to fit. So around the holidays, think about that. Think about things that are the same size that you can easily do kind of in an assembly line fashion. And sometimes, what you can also do is, maybe this works better at wrap parties. I was trying to tuck the tear underneath this, but go with like one of the larger packages. Make sure you have enough wrap for that, and then just cut your paper down to fit that one, and you'll know that everything after that is going to work too, because it's smaller. So this is going to be a little strange. For me, it's going to be I'm going to do too much damage tucking it under. So I'm actually going to just kind of do like, stay over there. And I'm actually going to do it where I'm glad I got this glue stick. Doing it like that. And that'll just look a little bit like a wrinkle, I think. But it's really because I didn't get the paper to go underneath. But the paper stays where the paper is. Okay. This glue is actually working better than I thought. So, since we came down on this side, we are coming down on this side. And that may not seem like the easiest task in the world, given this corner here, but we can definitely find a way to make it work. Again, if we have a little too much, we're just going to cut out a crescent or a smiley face, whatever you want to call it. Not too much, because we do want to have we do want to have a little bit of overlap. And if you're not able to see what I'm doing, speak up in the comments so I can reposition. I'm not going to be able to reposition the camera, but I can definitely reposition the angle of how I demonstrate. I'm trying to tuck this under now just because it's going to drive me crazy. Is this the kind of thing that would drive anybody else bonkers. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to live with it not being tucked under. Okay. We'll definitely be subscribed to see if there's a next episode after this. If it really pushes me over the edge. I don't think so. I've had much more difficult wrapping challenges. You know, there was a game show or like, you know, like a contestant show where they did like the ultimate wrap challenge. And I always thought, you know, if that ever really turned into a series, I would want to do it. But see, the problem was that I noticed was it was more of a stunt than an actual aesthetic that the contestants were playing for. So I don't know if that would be the way it didn't do all because I don't think it ever made it to second season. So if somebody does decide to do like an ultimate gift wrap, let me know in the comments or message me, however you find me, because I would definitely like to get on that list. Okay, now remember how I said since we came up, we were going to come up this way? I think we're actually going to change that because I don't see any way that I can make this paper work the way I was intending it to. And there is, by the way, there is a fix for this. There is a 100% fix when your paper does not cooperate and you don't realize it until the end. The way that you fix it is you actually do part of it with a contrasting pattern. So that might end up happening. Let me look and see what the easiest solution here is going to be. And part of the unexpected outcome is that this is not normally how I finish my corners. I don't normally finish them like hospital corners where it's like a straight line. I normally finish it with a bit of a triangle, but I might still be able to get this to work. You never know what I'm capable of creating. Okay, so there's just a little too much paper here, so we'll get rid of that. I think we're actually, even though I am using a lot of cheats and fixes, I think we're actually going to be able to make this one work. And let's check on our audience. Audience is doing pretty good. So time-wise, this is working out well for folks, it looks like. And you can use this technique year-round. Don't feel like you have to save it for your most special holiday. Wedding presents are another time I think that you can really show off your ingenuity and creativity. I remember going to a wedding where I used wallpaper, and I love to use wallpaper when it's appropriate because it's so thick and heavy and beautiful. And the mother of the bride asked me if I had used wallpaper, and I said yes. And she said, well, where did you get it? Because I want to do my whole powder room in that pattern. And then I had to reveal, well, I kind of got it on a last of the line, you know, clearance, because with wallpaper, you really need to make sure that you have matching dye lots. You don't just want to have the same pattern. You have to make sure that the dye lots match, because even the same pattern can look very different if it was produced on a different week or month or whatever. They can only calibrate it so well. So yeah, so I did not have enough to do a powder room. Otherwise, I gladly would have said, well, you know, when I get home, I'll make sure that you get the the remaining rolls. Okay, so this is not as gorgeous, but not as bad either. You know, sometimes you just have to sort of deal with the perfection of creativity, right? Because we got all the corners wrapped. We dealt with a little tearing. I did fold that under, so I can fold this under. And usually when you make an exception to a rule, so like one side is folded opposite, people start to assume that you did it intentionally for some dramatic effect or some design choice. and I will let people think what they want to think. Because really these are all meant for them. And if they enjoy it, that's really the best thing I can hope for. I might do a little bit of touch up on this, but this is going to require a really light blue. The green wouldn't be as difficult to touch up as long as I have a green. I also would not go with like heavy permanent marker. I would look for washable markers. And I don't see a green washable. Actually, I think I do. I think I've got a green tucked away back here. It's so funny. I buy so many of these things at these extreme discounts, and then it's like, oh, I need one. Where is it? Okay, so that's just touching it up a little bit. So we basically did double-sided, and then we also did some glue, and I think that worked out really well for us. So the first thing I'm going to double-side down is I'm just going to put this flap right there, double-sided down. The next thing I'm going to do is put some of this right here and get that double-sided down. So we've got a little bit of contact with that box. And then everything after that, I get to glue, which is fun for me now because I don't usually glue. But I'm just going to go over the paper, put some of that purple glue all over the place. Because I really don't want, you know, with tape, it can sometimes peel up. And the point of this geometric pattern is it really needs to stay the way it's meant to look. This corner is going to get a little messy if I leave too much paper there. What I am going to do instead is use glue, glue, glue. Glue for you. Glue for you and me too. Do you want to see me touch up a few of these more difficult areas? If so, let me know. Maybe we'll do that at the end. But I have colored pencils that I think would work wonderfully for something like this. Okay, so that is how I would wrap a basic package if I wanted to make some extreme geometry statement. And the person, I don't think will have any clue what's inside. I might need to put a little bit more double-sided tape here. You don't only have to use double-sided tape. That is a rule that we've all outgrown. I grew up with it, so I used to really try never to show tape. But sometimes you want to show the tape. It's fine because it doesn't detract from the overall appearance. And if you use decorative tape, this often is not enough to hold the seams. But if you use decorative tape, that can be part of the presentation. So we've got this box wrapped. We're going to put this inside the bag. We'll talk about whether or not we need tissue later. And when I do a bag, I'm just building sort of a bouquet of gifts. And let me see. Wow, I can't believe we've been going almost an hour. This is so much fun. That's why. It's just been so much fun doing all this. This is what I love doing. I mean, there are other things as well. I was hoping to show you some shortcuts, but we're going to skip some of those and maybe do a second video. Let me know how you like this one. But this is an example of, I have these poly mailers. Last year, I gave them away to anybody who bought a holiday ornament. They got one of these with a stick-on bow. So I thought this is the easiest way to wrap. I have these beautiful cards, these art cards. And I bought a whole box set. So I just took one of each pattern. These are from Robert Mapplethorpe. And I'm including this as part of the gift. So what I'll do is, and I included the 5 envelopes. What I'll do is I will put the cards into this, number one, because I don't want them to get wet or damaged. However, what I might want to also do is maybe put a ribbon around this. And let me look and see what I have. because this type of a ribbon just has to give a little bit of a luxury finish. It doesn't have to really do a whole lot to secure it because it's going to be inside of a bag. And I see a black and white plaid that I'm not the biggest fan of. Let me look. Like a white ribbon is appropriate. And let me keep looking. I've gotten rid of so many of my ribbon patterns. I'm so proud of myself. Every year that I'm able to finish a color, I'm just so proud of myself. Okay, I think I have a white, you know what? I do have a white ribbon. So this will be the start of something good. Now, I normally would say, do you want me to show you how to tie the perfect bow? The problem is I don't know that anybody's asked for that. So if you would like me to tie the perfect bow, you have to be subscribed for a minute, and you got to put it in the comments because we're gonna do this one next. So this, I'm wrapping up my gift card set, and these are all beautiful photographs. These were all exhibited in art galleries. I want to say even around the world. So these are, a lot of these are very iconic. And let me just do the perfect bow. And how are we doing? Okay, we're still doing. Hold on one second. Okay. So actually, we will do a little bit of a shortcut here. That seems to be the audience consensus. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take these. And since I'm putting it in this bag, I don't need to put any tissue or any other paper around. That should be fine. And all I did was, this is the secret. If I was going to do the perfect bow, I would basically estimate how much loop and tail I would need. And then I would put that toward the center right here. Okay. And then that's how much slack. And I would actually give myself a little bit more. But what I do is I go, I'm right-handed. So shiny side out. I think I've got that backwards. So we're going to do this here. So I just went around once. Then I'm going to come over my thumb. And I turned without twisting. And I came down behind. And then I came over to the side. And then maybe we will do the perfect bow since I've just used this much ribbon. I want to cut at a place that I know I'm going to have enough for a loop and a tail. And I'm not using my ribbon scissors, which that was so rough. This is actually very generous with the ribbon. So in real time, real life, I'm more cautious with the ribbon because if I overcut each one, that means I get 2 fewer gifts out of each roll. And that can be really aggravating when I'm trying to match all of the same ribbon. And then it's like, but these last 2, I don't have enough because I've got all these scraps. So here is the perfect bow technique. Now when you feel it, the shiny side is here. Same on this side. So it never twists in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and make a loop. And I'm going to pull it a little tight. And basically, I'm tying my shoelaces. So I make another loop on the side, make the bunny ears. And these can be loose because we have so much to work with now. And that is the perfect bow. It will tend to do something like that, but the bow itself is perfect. Now to adjust, I'm just going to try to even out the loops. And I always want to make sure that my sides are staying matched. On this one, it's not as important, but especially when you get to patterns that have like one side decorative. You don't want to see that twisted too much. So that is the perfect bow. This one is a little loose, but I still think we're going to be okay. Now, big controversy. Actually, let me undo and try to tighten it and get it right. Big controversy. How do we finish the tails? Well, I go with the classic style, and I'm gonna hear everybody else in the world say that they should be dovetailed, which is where you cut a V at the bottom, and I can show you how to method. My preferred method is the classic style that I learned from an international luxury retailer that I've always stuck to, and it's carried them to success around the world, and it's gotten me this far in life, and so I don't plan on changing it. But what that means is just trying to even things out. I mean, if somebody gave you that, wouldn't that impress you? Wouldn't you think that somebody really thought this through? I'm trying to make sure that my shiny side is the side that's showing. Okay. Okay. Perfect. And if you pull it, it's gonna come undone. That's the other thing about these bows, is that they're not double tied. You could, but it's meant to be just pull on one tail, and it's easy to unwrap. Okay, so we usually want to keep about, and I'll fiddle with this as long as I have it in my hand. We want to keep about the loop length plus a little extra, and the way that I cut it is always going to be parallel to the bottom. Now, if you dovetail, and I'll do this only to show you what I would not do. Let me make sure I get my ribbon scissors though, because this requires precision. If you dovetail, what you're doing is you're going to take this and you're going to fold this in half. Okay, so you're pinching it in half, and then in between two fingers, you're going to try to cut as close to a 45-degree angle as you can. And a lot of times you'll get it backwards, but that's okay, because you just flip it over. That's a dovetail. That to me is perfectly fine in some situations, but for the other 99.9% that I like to wrap those packages, a clean, neat edge is actually, I think, a nicer finish. And in that situation, I really just want to make sure that they look even, so that one doesn't droop and hang a lot lower than the other. They don't have to be precise. Actually, I need to clean up that edge. There. This is why ribbon scissors are so important. Okay. So I hope we got a good demonstration out of that. Now I'm going to just kind of wipe with my shirt, because I don't want to get any more oil on these cards. And I'm just going to slip these in here. I know that now it seems maybe a little less impressive now that we have this beautiful bow wrapped set of cards, but that is one of the fun things. So I'm going to try to pattern it, and then I'll just peel it and try to get the patterns to match, and that little bit of lumpy isn't really going to reveal too much. And if you get it wrong, you sometimes get it wrong, but that's pretty well close enough. Yeah, so that's pretty well close enough. So on top of this, we could put another bow. We could do an overlay. As I see this, I'm tempted to want to do something to conceal the seam, but it's also a casual thing. It's just a little something. It's not a big something. So let's keep going, because I really want to show you the technique. Now, these are just chocolates. Not everybody likes chocolate, so I do keep that in mind. I'm not doing a lot of chocolate, but I wanted to show you. I had another piece, and I did not eat it. I promise I did not eat it. but I was going to put 2 chocolates in 1 bag, and I was going to show you how to do it with a ribbon wrap. These, I'm actually just going to do the bag wrap. So where's my other piece of chocolate? Okay, well, since this has gone on for more than an hour, we're going to call this part 1. And if you want to see how I do the rest of this, be sure that you're watching for part 2. And until the next time I see you, I hope you can stay home to shop.